Hi, this is your host Sapnil Bhartiya and welcome to another episode of TFR Let's Talk. And today we have with us once again Harry Aujla, Director of Partner Alliances at SIOS Technology. Harry, it's great to have you back on the show after a long time.
Good to be back, Swap. Thanks.
And today we are going to talk about how SIOS technology brings easy to use high availability clustering for critical applications to Nutanix AHV environments. But before we go into dive deeper into this topic, it would be a great idea to just remind our viewers, what is SIOS all about?
Very simply put, SIOS Technology offers a range of software solutions that are designed to sort of help keep important applications and systems running smoothly and, very importantly, without interruptions. So our products are there to make sure that, firstly, not only data is always available, but also we have the capability to automatically switch applications to backup systems if, dread the thought, something goes wrong. So whether that's running on physical servers, virtual servers, or in the cloud. So sort of the fundamental message really is our aim is to help businesses avoid downtime and data loss, especially around sort of some of those real mission critical applications and use cases, things like SQL Server, SAP, Oracle, and so much more.
And today we are going to talk about SIOS Technology joining the Nutanix Elevate Partner Program. I would love to know talk a bit about Nutanix, and then talk a bit about what is Nutanix Elevate Partner Program. Then we can talk about the importance for both Nutanix and SIOS customers.
That's a great question. For anyone who's not familiar with Nutanix, they are a vendor who offer a market-leading hyper-converged infrastructure platform. So this is an environment where customers can come and host their important applications and databases within the Nutanix hypervisor environment. So around that hypervisor, Nutanix will offer a wider range of capabilities and services to help customers run their IT infrastructures. And then in parallel to that, they have what they call this Elevate Partner Program, whereby if a technology partner wants to come in and introduce some additional value into this Nutanix environment, they have to meet certain criteria to be able to join this program and make sure that our technologies are compatible with the technologies that Nutanix are trying to deliver.
How does this, SIOS technology joining the Nutanix Elevate Partner Program, how is it going to help both, customers of SIOS and Nutanix?
This is really important. It's actually quite a crucial alliance because what it does, it enables SIOS to elevate themselves into a much broader IT infrastructure market. So by integrating our high availability and disaster recovery software with the Nutanix hyper-converged infrastructure, what we're doing is we're ensuring that there's minimal downtime and minimal data loss for those critical applications that could be running in Nutanix.
Excellent, thank you. And can you talk about why now? Why is it needed now?
Yeah, certainly. And there's definitely been some sort of movement in the market recently, which is kind of resulting in some of these alliances coming about. I think a lot of people will be familiar with the recent Broadcom acquisition of VMware, which unfortunately has led to a level of uncertainty about the future, prompting some of the VMware customers to potentially go out there and start exploring new alternative platforms to host their IT infrastructures on platforms like Nutanix, for example, which, as we already know, already have a strong market presence. As a trusted advisor in high availability, SIOS is now sort of being sought after by a lot of these companies moving from VMware into Nutanix to ensure the protection of those critical applications from any potential downtime. So our commitment is to help sort of support those mission critical high availability SLAs for VMware customers migrating into Nutanix.
Excellent, thank you. Can you now talk about how do SIOS LifeKeeper and DataKeeper kind of contribute to providing high availability clustering solutions for critical applications within Nutanix AHV environments?
Yeah, sure. And again, that's another good question because for anyone listening today who might be familiar with Nutanix already, they might already be aware that there are some existing high availability capabilities in the Nutanix AHV offering. But the reason why SIOS is introduced here is because when you start looking at those mission critical applications, these are applications that more than often require a more advanced, or shall I say enhanced, level of protection. So this is exactly where SIOS is playing, because we can provide that deeper integration with some of these applications and databases. So our solutions will offer that enhanced flexibility for configuring high availability environments, but they also allow customers to tailor their setups as well for their specific needs. So if I were to sort of summarize that, SIOS brings that seamless integration of LifeKeeper clustering and DataKeeper data replication technologies into that Nutanix AHV platform. And again, like we've been pointing out, they're the pieces that are really going to ensure the continuous operation of any mission critical applications in that Nutanix environment.
Can you give some specific examples of how this helps customers?
Yeah, sure. So, I've just mentioned two products there previously, LifeKeeper and DataKeeper. LifeKeeper is really sort of the core of our solution set. This is our core high availability clustering technology. And it's very unique in that it's designed to integrate with the applications and the databases that it's monitoring. So it's monitoring all of these resources. If dread the thought there's an issue, it will automatically fail over the application to a standby node in the SIOS cluster. Now, this other standby node is quite interesting because in a Nutanix environment, it can very easily be another Nutanix AHV instance, or if a customer wishes to do so, it could be a physical server running on premises somewhere, or it could even be a cloud instance in the form of platforms like AWS or even Azure. So LifeKeeper's failover capabilities, although they monitor the application and they monitor those resources, they also go beyond that as well, because we can also cover any hardware resources and we can also monitor for any network failures as well. So it really ends up being a sort of a full stack monitoring and failover solution for the application in question.
You've talked about LifeKeeper. Can you talk about what does DataKeeper do for Nutanix customers?
So we've just mentioned LifeKeeper as the core clustering technology that's monitoring your applications and monitoring all the wonderful failover and failback as and when we need it. But in parallel to that, we also need some capability to make our data available on each one of the SIOS cluster nodes. So what DataKeeper does is it provides that real-time block level data replication between the SIOS cluster nodes, keeping the data up to date on these other standby servers. And what's interesting about how we're working with Nutanix is that some existing Nutanix customers might already be using existing data replication techniques to protect their data. So customers who want to leverage SIOS, they actually have the option of either using DataKeeper, or they can use some of the built-in replication technologies that Nutanix are supplying. And then what we do in that scenario is, rather than coupling LifeKeeper with DataKeeper, we can couple LifeKeeper with whatever replication technology the customer is utilizing. So that ends up being really important, because what it demonstrates is the flexibility to allow customers to manage data protection in a way that best suits their needs and their infrastructure.
Can you talk about LifeKeeper's integration with application and its monitoring capabilities, and also elaborate on why it's important to a Nutanix customer?
What we found along our 25-year journey at SIOS is when you start building out high availability clustering and building out your high availability SLAs, clustering can get complex if you don't have the right skill set and the right knowledge to manage and deploy these systems. So one of our aims at SIOS is how do we simplify this? And what we offer is a very sort of simplified, user-friendly interface for managing these clusters across whether you're running Windows workloads or Linux workloads, it doesn't matter. But how do we go about making these deployments easier to manage, easier to handle when we're running them in Nutanix environments? Like we've mentioned earlier, unlike other solutions, SIOS monitors the entire stack, the network, the hardware, the operating system, of course, the application and the database. So that ensures that the critical applications run smoothly and prevent issues like software compatibility or update problems that might actually happen within the application itself. So it's really, really important to be working at that level. But one of the really neat things I like about SIOS and how we kind of differentiate ourselves is LifeKeeper also allows for customizable recovery processes. So that enables, for want of a better term, tailored failover and tailored recovery policies that meet the specific SLAs that you're trying to meet, with the flexibility to create sort of bespoke solutions when necessary. So although we can protect many applications and databases out of the box, there are those scenarios sometimes where customers might have more bespoke requirements. So we provide the necessary framework, the tools, and the right processes to be able to meet those needs effectively.
How does SIOS, LifeKeeper, and DataKeeper work together in Nutanix AHV environments?
Yeah, absolutely. It is very sort of important that these two pieces are somewhat sort of running in parallel to each other when we deploy in Nutanix. So LifeKeeper as the core clustering technology, what we do is we install that into the operating system of the Nutanix guest instance. So whether it's a Windows server or a Linux server, it doesn't matter. And being able to do that gives us that capability to manage and monitor the applications that are running on that OS. So we install LifeKeeper on each node in the cluster. The application is only one active instance running, and that's usually on the primary node in the cluster. On the other nodes, the application is in a passive or a dormant state. Now, in parallel to that, we also installed DataKeeper into the guest OSs as well. And DataKeeper, as we've mentioned, is doing that data mirroring between the primary and the cluster node. So in the case of a failure of the primary node, LifeKeeper initiates the failover, it starts up the application on the standby node, it handles all the necessary client redirects that need to happen to complete that failover. And what DataKeeper does is, once a failover has been recognized, it makes sure that the data set is made available to that standby node and that we've got access to that data. Now, the other important thing that DataKeeper does, and we have to think about this from a data consistency perspective, is that once a failover has occurred, DataKeeper is very clever. It will automatically reverse the direction of the replication back to the original active node. And the reason why that's important is that we can start replicating new data from the standby server back to the original active server and make sure that the data sets are synchronized before we're thinking about recovering our applications back. So that process is really important. The recovery and data sync principles there apply or should apply even if customers are not using DataKeeper and maybe using their own data replication methods. So that's important because that's going to ensure that seamless application recovery between the nodes running between the Nutanix instances.
Why is performing application recovery and data replication within the Nutanix instance rather better than recovery at the host level?
Yeah, again, that's a really good question, and it's a common question that we get asked because, let's face it, there are different ways of delivering high availability, which all deliver a guaranteed level of SLA on the back of those capabilities. But the reason why we take this approach is because recovery within Nutanix using SIOS offers a more granular approach to clustering. We focus on the individual applications running on the guest rather than focusing on the host as a whole or the guest as a whole, which is more like what most sort of hypervisor level HA solutions operate with. LifeKeeper simplifies this. And the best sort of example I can give, Swap, is we do a lot of clustering around Red Hat, for example. Red Hat clustering on its own is quite complex, it's quite manual, it's quite prone to error. Customers rely on an open source technology called Pacemaker to deliver that clustering. But if you use LifeKeeper instead in that scenario, we can really simplify Red Hat clustering in a Nutanix environment. And the reason why we do that is we offer a more streamlined and, quite importantly, a more automated alternative to the manual and complex Pacemaker approach. And the reason why we can do that is because we have that application level granular approach. So that's really important. LifeKeeper provides that flexibility in clustering environments as well. So outside of the application layer, we've got to think about the storage layer as well. How is our storage organized and how can we manage that in a LifeKeeper cluster? And the great thing about LifeKeeper is that we're completely agnostic when it comes to storage architectures. Yeah, we can support shared storage architectures, or we can support the examples that we've just been talking about, where we've got synchronized local storage between our cluster nodes. And in other clustering solutions, sometimes managing these different storage architectures can be a bit cumbersome and complex. And that's exactly sort of some of the aspects we're trying to simplify with our solution.
Can you provide examples of how industries, or if you can get some use cases where organizations have successfully implemented SIOS solutions for high availability and disaster recovery?
That's a very open question because at the end of the day, the types of customers we are helping are customers who have an availability need, regardless of whatever industry they come from, regardless of whatever their business type is. But just to give you an example of the kind of customers we work with today, we work with a lot of hospitals and healthcare organizations. Using SIOS in those industries is very important because we can help them ensure that critical patient data is always available. The patient management systems are running, health records are always available. We work with a lot of banks and financial institutions as well. They rely on SIOS to protect their transactional systems and their trading platforms. Manufacturing companies, they're using SIOS to keep their production management systems up and running and their ERP applications running smoothly. What we're doing a lot at the moment, and what seems to be quite prevalent for us at the moment, is working with a lot of retailers, whether they're high street retailers or online retailers. They're deploying SIOS in a way where they want to safeguard their point of sale systems and their inventory management systems as well. And then sort of outside of that commercial sector, and a big part of our business today are government agencies and public sector organizations as well, because these are organizations who want to leverage high availability techniques like SIOS to maintain the availability of their critical infrastructure and their critical services. But what's interesting with a lot of these examples, Swap, is that no matter what type of organization you are, downtime is going to lead to severe consequences. This could include things like revenue loss. It could lead to things like damage to reputation, and could even lead to sort of not complying with various compliancy and regulations that are required in various industries. So a high availability solution, this is where we step in to help organizations kind of mitigate some of these risks.
Can you talk about the significance of this Nutanix ready validation for customers?
At a technical level, what it signifies is that the SIOS products have been tested and validated for seamless compatibility with Nutanix's hyper-converged infrastructure. That's important because that's going to help us reduce any integration issues. Nutanix, as part of the program, also demands some stringent performance standards as well. So having this level of recognition from Nutanix means that we can meet the performance standards that they need and ensure that we're delivering reliable operation and optimal performance in these environments. And customers can confidently deploy Nutanix ready products which integrate smoothly into their infrastructure with very importantly minimal modifications. And then really importantly, as part of this program, Nutanix ready products, what happens is they receive a dedicated level of support within that Nutanix ecosystem, which very importantly is also complemented by SIOS's world-class 24/7 support as well. So that's going to help minimize operational disruptions and ensure that a SIOS environment running in Nutanix remains a stable IT environment.
Can you also talk about the support and resources available for customers who are interested in implementing SIOS Nutanix solutions?
Yeah, sure. I think when you think about sort of support and resources, I think it's fair to say the first thing that comes to mind is probably technical support. Both SIOS and Nutanix offer dedicated technical support for things like troubleshooting, configuration, and performance optimization. That could be during deployment or even in ongoing operations. We also offer assets and resources like detailed documentation, installation manuals, configuration guides, and also best practice recommendations. There's also SIOS can provide a range of training programs and certification programs as well to equip IT teams with the right skills for deploying our solutions into Nutanix environments. And that's skills around, again, deploying, managing, and troubleshooting the integrated solution. At a more sort of a business level and maybe something that's a bit more centered on SIOS and Nutanix itself, but it does give us the opportunity to develop more joint co-marketing opportunities as well. So things like joint webinars, seminars, and case studies are really important. And why that's important for customers is because that offers them those additional insights into the successful implementations and showcases the practical benefits of the solutions. Of course, from a SIOS perspective, we will offer things like enhanced sales and pre-sale support. So we can assist with things like solution demonstrations, proof of concepts, or any other conversations that need to happen at that level. And really importantly, I think all of these resources, no matter which ones you end up relying upon, these resources and support, they ensure the effective deployment and maintenance of SIOS solutions within those Nutanix AHV environments.
Harry, thank you so much for joining me today and talk about the partnership. And I would love to have you back on the show. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.